Good after morning, welcome back to the news here on T3. In today's episode, we are going to be covering all of the awesome developments happening at Computex. So you just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Good after morning, welcome back to the news here on T3. In today's episode, we are going to be covering all of the awesome developments happening at Computex. So you just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Now, jeepers, Computex 2019, this is the biggest Computex that I can remember for basically the last half of the decade. There are a huge amount of developments and a lot of it's being driven forward by good old AMD, with Auntie Lisa taking the front. I mean, you are the best. Do you know you guys are the best right now? Auntie Lisa, number one. Everybody else, number two. Let's get into it and explain exactly why that is. Alrighty, so the official spec and pricing is out for the AMD Ryzen 3000 series. Now, the boost that it's creating isn't as much as we were rumored to believe, where it was going to be able to hit as much as 5 gigahertz, but the instructions per clock increased significantly. So what does that mean? It means that they can do more with less megahertz. So it doesn't necessarily have to hit 5 gigahertz to be equivalent to competing processors, and that's not a bad thing at all. Basically, they're giving us huge amounts of efficiency with less clock, which leads to a better wattage performance, which means that it runs cooler, quieter, and better all around. So looking at the kind of spec off the back foot, we do see the 3900X being a 12 core 24 thread super monster with 70 megs. I mean, 70 megs of cache. That's huge. That's like having a 12-speed gearbox to put the thing through. Wow. Okay, that's nuts. What's really nice about this though is that if you've got a second gen Ryzen product like a 2600X or 2700X, the performance gains are not going to be so massive that it completely discounts your processor into nothingness, but also at the same time, the pricing that's on the 3700X, which is kind of like the 1700X when it launched, is going to be extremely aggressive, and it's going to make multi-threaded compute performance very, very accessible. So that's freaking amazing. Now, they are also pushing PCI Express really hard. PCI Express 4.0 is going to be on the new X570 boards, which is really good because it's going to increase our bandwidth for graphics, and their Navi chips, which we'll see a little bit later, are also going to be compatible with that, which is just, they are making the best gaming ecosystem around right now, and we're seeing guys like Asus and Acer even cotton onto this and already start releasing desktops with those setups. If you're looking though at the overall performance increase, the 3900X is twice as good with only 4 extra cores. So it's 8 cores to 12 from the 1800X to the 3900X, but multi-threaded improved 100%. There's that instruction per clock that I was talking about. So now the best part is, if you have an X370 board, you'll be able to run an update on your BIOS and slap that processor right in there. Of course, you're going to lose out on PCI Express performance that they've got on the X570 chipset, but if that's not the end of the world for you and you're using this as a development platform, then you saw it, isn't it? And at 500 USD, the Intel equivalent 9920X is 1100 USD. So less than half the price, exactly the same performance. Ow. I'd be very scared to be Intel right about now, if I'm very honest. Now, this isn't issue free. It does seem like if you buy a new X570 board, it's not going to be compatible with the first gen Ryzen processors. There is some difficulty in them creating that compatibility for whatever reason. We'll have to see how it progresses, but they have created a partner program as far as that goes for their board, so you will be able to identify where it is compatible. I don't really see it being an issue though, because why would you buy a brand new motherboard with a 2-year-old processor unless you already have that processor and you want to upgrade your motherboard for PCI Express 4.0, in which case, yeah, it becomes a bit of a back and forth. But with the Intel progression being what it was, I'm assuming a lot of us are kind of used to selling off our whole motherboard, processor and RAM setups and buying new ones. So in this case, you probably would want to do that anyway. And considering the performance gains, I really don't see why you wouldn't. I mean, there's no real reason, unless you're happy with your development platforms being on the first gen Ryzens, to not upgrade to this new stuff, which just is like, thank you once again, Auntie Lisa, you're the best. Now, they have at the same time released their complete roadmap for the Amd Epic, as well as their mobile chips and all that kind of stuff. And it's wild. It's really wild. It's out there. Even suggesting that post 7nm Plus, which is due to come out in about a year from now, they will be able to do 5 or 6nm on the newer chips. And that basically, when they refine that process, it just means better efficiency and better IPC, basically what we're seeing now with these current gen chips. So really promising roadmap for their future, and especially in the server workspace. I think Intel is in a lot of trouble, to be honest. Now, they did reveal their Navi chips as well. We got very limited information on that. They did have a benchmark versus the 2070, where you can see it beating it by about 10%, and that's going to be at a very similar dollar price. So very good competition coming through from AMD, but I don't know if it's going to beat them on their ray tracing front, which Nvidia seems to be doing just a little bit better with, especially with their DLSS and Tensor cores really coming to shine at the moment, giving significant performance gains, as we've covered in some of our last news episodes. So something to look at. Perhaps the 7nm process does make it obviously very wattage efficient, so cooling should be pretty good. We'll have to see what non-reference cards do before we really draw any conclusions there. A little bit of limited information. I really wish there was more on it right now, but there just isn't. Moving swiftly on to Intel, they have released one whole new processor in the 9900KS, which is basically a 9900K with S power. As we know, S class is the top class, never mind A class, S class is the top class. And now that's not really a massive performance increase compared to their last one. You're looking at like 300 megahertz on the base clock and about 200 megahertz on the boost clock, so it will give some performance headroom, but that's not enough to really call it a major addition. As far as I'm concerned, it's basically the same thing, just rebadged. One thing that they did do though that is really cool is the Intel Maximizer. Now, this is an auto clocking technology that looks at the chip's temperature and does the overclocking for you, so you can get actually quite significant performance increases, as they've displayed with their 9700K at the show, and all at the click of a button. That's pretty cool, I must say. I really do like that. The only other real software that I've seen do that successfully before is the Asus AI suite that has a auto clocking functionality that then you can cut off when you're happy with the temperature headroom, as it were. They haven't been very good case studies or very good implementations of these that don't have a bit of a sketchy vibe to them. So we'll see how it runs, but it's going to be released mid-June for the greater market, so Intel users, look out for that. Now, that's all there is really for desktop. For the most part, they seem to be focusing heavily on the mobile market, and it makes sense that they're doing this because the mobile market is much bigger than the desktop and enthusiast market, and it's growing rapidly. So they've launched Project Athena with a huge amount of support from different kind of vendors that are going to be working on these projects, as well as some workstation class improvements. They've also released some really big improvements to the AI suite performance, graphics performance, and Wi-Fi performance, which is exactly in line with what you need in a mobility platform. Now, Nvidia has also cottoned onto this with their workstation improvements, which, well, all of their news pretty much is around getting the Max-Q design RTX stuff going in notebooks, and with some impressive specifications. Up to 16 gigs of VRAM on a mobile workstation is going to be more than tasty. I think for those, especially the people that are doing 3D and very high level video editing, that's going to be really nice for you. But like I say, mostly for our 3D kind of designers and creators, that's going to be really good for you guys. We had a new Rtx demo with a Taiwanese based game creator. It looks really pretty as far as the shadows and that kind of stuff goes. I didn't think the graphics were actually that great, besides the Rtx kind of featurette in that. It seems a bit of fluff, to be honest, if I'm honest. Which I normally am. But the one thing that was cool from that whole announcement is they are going to be making 3 levels of the Quake 2 RTX demo that they've been showing completely free. And for people that own the full release on Steam, you'll be able to get a full release of RTX goodness added to your Quake 2, which is really, really cool. If you're old like me, then that's where you basically started with the Quake 2 demo on your machine, which gave you 4 levels of awesome Quake action. And if you haven't played Quake 2, this is your opportunity to do it with RTX goodness. Yes, the models are still looking blocky and that kind of stuff, but it's a classic. Classics are supposed to be, well, classics. It's not like a classic car where the body looks absolutely phenomenal and the engine sucks. Actually, it's exactly like that. It's like a classic car. But check it out. I mean, hey, 3 free levels. You know what I'm talking about. The studio that's doing this is called Lightspeed Studios, and it actually sits within Nvidia, and they're going to be doing more game titles. So I put it to you, Mr. Barry Rue, what would you guys like to see remastered in RTX goodness? Off the top of my head, one of the things I would really like to see is them do Quake 3, and maybe we'll have Quake 3 Arena become a thing again. Shout out to Quake Champions Online. RIP 2019. It was short-lived, but we loved you. Moving on to some other brand news from Coolermaster, we got their pack of awesome media goodies, and it included some really cool new products. There's a couple of new cases that they brought out, including the C700P and SL600M Black editions. These look really, really sleek and really, really nice. They are quite lacquer, but the new products are all focused around sleek, small little chassis. I really like this H100. It's very, very, very Coolermaster in how it looks and feels. So if you are a fan of that kind of stuff, the older HAF 932s and those kind of things, this is very spiritually successful to that. And then we have the Elincia S400, which also just looks, if you're into a clean build, this is going to be really, really nice. No pricing information as of yet, but I doubt it's actually going to cost more than 70 USD for either of these chassis, because the Coolermaster pricing model is very, very, very good. So you can look forward to those becoming available probably in the next 2 to 3 months. Then we saw some new peripherals, as they've got new keyboard, mouse and headset that they've announced at the show. The mouse really, really caught my eye. It looks phenomenal. It looks to be on the same kind of build quality as the MM830, but with a few changes and probably a lot lighter, which I'm kind of looking forward to. I really like the plastics and stuff that they use on that. It's a bit of a matte kind of feel, and it doesn't kind of let you slide off or something like that. It's very grip intensive. This dude hates being picked up, but I keep getting this little red bag coming to visit me in the studio, so I thought I would include him. Well, go on. We saw some nice new power supplies from them as well. 750, fully modular with some RGB goodness, more MWEs, bit of a rework and redesign there, but a really cool new power delivery system that should be way more stable than it was already. So that's going to be great for enthusiasts and overclocking markets. Now cooling, they've really stepped up their game. We look at this 3D VVC, I think I've said that correctly. Cooling that they've got, mainly though, what I'm taking away from it is that U-horn shaped copper piece that they've put into it. Get piping, how's about a whole block of copper directly connected to your processor? That is amazing. It looks really, really cool as well. That thing's blowing me away right now. Got new fan kits as well from them with really cool shrouds, very, very clean looking. They also come in a 240 and a 360 mil setup, so you can have basically one fan kit directly on your 240 or 360 mil radiator, which is very forward thinking. I really like that. Then they've got the new SF120M, which has a proprietary shroud around it that looks absolutely amazing. It looks like extremely high quality. So if you guys are uncompromising in your fan needs and you need the best of the best, that definitely looks like it. They've even patented how that thing mounts and is designed, so it's going to reduce, well, because it's going to reduce vibration and all these kind of things, which is just, so that thing, it looks really, really nice, I must say. They've also released a dual chamber pump, which looks absolutely insane. It looks like a turbocharger for your PC, and we just love turbochargers here on Turbo Tortoise Tech, don't we? And then they have an all-new, all-in-one cooler, closed circuit loop cooler, at least a 240mm ML240 PQRZ, whatever the code is, but it looks really cool because it's got their new fan kit across the front of it, and that's looking really, really sleek, I must say. I'm quite keen on that. It looks good, and I'm a big fan of the 240mm rad setups because their pumps are fantastic, as we've seen in our testing. You don't need fan curve to get the best out of them. Now, the best of the rest, a couple other things that I saw around the Computex announcements that I really, really liked. The first being a portable 240 Hertz monitor being brought out by Asus. Of course, never to be outdone is Uncle Asus. They are going to make the best of the best, even in portable monitors. So if you need a 240 Hertz portable monitor because you're so serious about your competitive gaming and you're on the go around the world or something to that effect, they've got you covered. Can you believe it? I never thought I'd see the day. Anyway, moving on to the best of laptops that I saw around there. The GT76 MSI looks amazing as far as the look and feel of the thing goes, and they've crammed in an R9 and 5 gigahertz, which is just nutty. So it's going to be like the GT72 Titan that we actually reviewed a little while ago, but even more Titan. So yeah, that's looking really cool. I must be honest, I like the look of it a lot. And then we saw 5 gigabit breaking NVMe's coming out all over the place, mostly at the moment from Aorus. They seem to be the most notable one there out of the lot, and the least expected. I would have thought Samsung would have been first to the punch, because they usually are, but that's mad. That's 5,000 megabytes per second. If your media was fast enough, you could load Windows onto your system in 3 seconds if you were going from one to the other. That is mind-blowing. Who needs that kind of speed? Instant gratification now. And that is all we have time for here on today's episode. I will probably be covering some more stuff as it comes out around the Computex event, but those are kind of the most notable things. Do let us know what you think of these developments down in the comments below, and we hope to see you in the next one. Okay, bye bye.